And I think as moms with our teens changing and we're changing to not take it personally because
Yes.
I've taken it so personally and be like, well, they just don't like me today. Like I tell my husband,
Yeah.
like, why don't they like me today? What did I
Yeah. Yeah.
do? But I have to stop that stinking thinking and say, what can I do to sow a seed, regardless of how she's going to respond, and keep doing it? And it's that consistency.
Mom, that's Sarah Colbert, and you are in for a treat today. If you've been waiting until you have more time to connect with your teen, Sarah's got a completely different way to look at it, and it's something that every busy mom can start doing right now. Do you long to build lasting connections with your teenager and have conversations that build trust instead of conflict? Welcome to Connect with Your Teens. I'm Terry, a mom, tutu, which is Hawaiian for grandma, and communication coach who went from feeling dismissed and shut out by my teens to becoming a valued and trusted person in their lives. I help moms like you reconnect, speak in ways that invite peace, and create conflict-free conversations, all guided by grace and anchored in God's love. Grab a latte or a favorite cup of tea, and let's get into the heart of it. Hey Mom, I've got a quick save the date before we jump in. I've got a brand new free Connect with Your Teen workshop coming up September 15th, where I'll be sharing a Christ-centered roadmap to help you create more peaceful conversations, deeper connection, and lasting trust with your teen. Registration details are coming soon, and if you want to be one of the first to know when registration opens, become a Connect with Your Teens insider using the link in the show notes below. And you'll not only get notified, but you'll get weekly encouragement, tips, and what's going on in the podcast. And while you're there, go check out my brand new website at connectwithyourteens.com. I'd love to have you take a look. All right, let's dig in. Welcome back to Connect with Your Teens. This is Terry Lee, and I am so glad you're here today. Today, we're talking about something I know every mom can relate to, wanting to build a stronger relationship with our kids while also trying to juggle all the responsibilities that come with family life. And if you've ever felt like there just aren't enough hours in the day to be the mom that you want to be, I know you're really going to enjoy today's conversation with my special guest, Sarah Colbert. Sarah's a former television news journalist, a coach's wife, a mom of 3 teenagers, and she helps moms prioritize their time as their kids grow more independent so they can stop putting themselves last and start feeling like themselves again. Sarah is the host of Balanced Mom Life, and through her podcast, Client Coaching and Community, she encourages moms to create space for their own goals, their interests, and their dreams without sacrificing what matters most. She believes it's possible to pursue something you're passionate about while still being fully present for your family. Sarah, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Terry. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So before we dive in, would you just share a little bit about yourself, your family, what led you to become so passionate about helping moms live a more balanced life?
Yeah, sure. So, as you mentioned, I was in television news for many years, took a little sidetrack detour, went back into the business. And then, after my first child was born, I left the business. And my husband and I, we started growing our own online nutrition business through a direct sales company because I wanted more time with my family. I always
Mm.
had been driven. If I wanted to accomplish something, I was going to be on a mission to do it. And so my first goal there was I wanted to be at home with my kids. And
Mm.
so we built this business, had tremendous time freedom and flexibility, which was incredible. My husband continued to coach high school football, and we really were with our kids, which was awesome, but then also helping people become the healthiest version of themselves through nutritional supplements. And, I remember when my girls started going to school, all of them in school all day, every day. And
Mm.
I remember I thought I'd be jumping for joy, high-fiving, like, woohoo, let's go. And I remember them walking out the door and sitting on my couch. And I'm like, huh, now what? And honestly,
Mm.
I didn't know how to answer that question because I hadn't slowed down long enough to ask that question of myself. What do I want now? And I had been so focused on just being there for my husband, my kids, and our business that I really kind of put myself to the back burner. And so that was really what started for me. I'm like, okay, one thing I need to know, I know I want to do something for myself. And so I set out on improving my health and wellness, even though I was coaching other
Mm.
women on becoming the healthiest version of themselves. I wasn't feeling that way. So I called my girlfriend Heather and I'm like, "Hey Heather, you need to coach me even though I know what I'm doing. I need a girlfriend to lock arms with and keep me accountable." And so my goal was to do one pull-up and I accomplished that in 90 days. And it just helped me to learn that investing in myself with consistent effort over time, with the time I did have, changed absolutely how I started to feel. My confidence
Mm.
started coming back, and it was just a great launching pad to down the road and where I am today.
Wow, what an incredible story you've got. And I love your passion, just that you experienced that and that now you're able to share it. You've got that heart for helping moms to be intentional with the time that they've got and the possibilities. I heard a lot about that in your story, that possibilities and community. So important. And in this time, instead of constantly feeling like you've got more of that, you need more of that time, it's like, now there's other options instead of moving in those beliefs. And I know that this is going to be something that moms can so relate to. And as a mom of three teenagers yourself, I know you're living this every day. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right. So, Sarah, many moms believe they just need more time with their teens. Is time really the problem here?
That's such a great question. I would say that when people would ask me several years ago, "How's it going, Sarah?" "Oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I just don't have enough time." That is the thing that rolls off our tongue so easily, right? Because
Yes.
we are running to all the things, doing all the things. And one thing that I found is that we are trying to solve a time problem when it's actually a prioritization problem
Mm,
because there are so many things we hear. Okay, to be a good mom, you need to do this. To
yeah.
show up for your family, you need to do this. There are so many expectations that the world is placing on us or that we place on ourselves. And
Mhm.
we don't slow down long enough to really ask the question, what do we want? And not in this life altering, oh my goodness, I have to have the answer, but what do I want in this season of life? Because when our kids are growing up, how they need us is different. It's different than when they
Yes.
were younger. And sometimes I found what I was doing is I was trying to teach or to approach this season in the same way I did when my kids were younger, trying to do all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And what I've learned is that more hours together didn't automatically create that connection I wanted with my kids. It was this consistent effort over time by using the 10 minutes here, the 20 minutes there to really lay that foundation for connection with myself, with my faith, with my husband, my kids. And it was incredible to see these seeds being planted because really that allowed me to have that momentum to move forward to
Mm.
say, okay, that is going then to move from these small pockets to where they feed into these larger, say, date night with my husband or going out on an outing with my kid, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the goal isn't adding more to like your already full schedule. It's getting super clear on what matters most to you so you can prioritize your calendar and your time to make
Mm.
it work.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing because we leave ourselves down the list because all the other demands, right? So I love that really focusing in and asking ourselves the question, what is it that we do want instead of being driven by the schedule and the activities and everything? That's really great. We all need to hear that. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
and it can be so hard because especially when your kids are in their tween and teen stage, and I specifically speak to women who are, in that early teen stage, in the tween stage, where they don't have a driver yet. And so they're still
Mm.
trying to coordinate where their kids are going and who's taking them where and will people be home for supper. There's so much mental load that you are carrying and the decisions that you have to make every single day. And before you know it, it can be exhausting. And so to
Yes.
have this decision filter of, okay, what do I want? Does this align with our family priorities? And it starts
Mm.
with having that conversation with you and your husband. What are the priorities of this family? And then engaging your kids. Like we always have a family Sunday time where
Mm.
now our kids, we have two drivers in the household and they're running. And sometimes I can't even keep up with them. But we know from what we've built many years ago that we started this, that
Mhm.
Sunday we go to church, we hang out, and we have 1 to 2 hours of family connection.
Mm. Wow.
And they make it a priority because we started that.
Yes, yes. Well, and it sounds like you really took the time to build the connection in the relationship so that at this point they do want to keep hanging out with you, right? And so that is so critical that I'm just curious, how old were your kids about when you started making these changes?
Yeah, we really started doing it when they were in their elementary school years, but there is that transition where, as moms, I love how you said they still want to hang out with you. I would say that's mostly true.
Yeah, yeah, for the
You
most
know,
part, yeah.
yeah, but I will say just when they're having these changes, and it can be harder. I've had my teenage daughter, each child is so different with their personalities. And there is one of my daughters who is more reserved. And I have to say,
Mhm.
okay, come on, you're coming down to the front porch and we're going to talk. Let's
Yeah,
get
yeah.
food. Let's get
Uh-huh.
some food. Food is always usually a good common
Yeah,
ground,
food and
right?
coffee drinks, yes, or
Yes,
some kind of drink or
totally.
smoothie. Yeah.
Because I was feeling a little distant with her.
Mhm.
And I said, I need to actually be super intentional with this connection because it doesn't come as naturally for her to say, hey, mom, let's connect. And so I had to pursue her. And I
Mhm.
think as moms, with our teens changing and we're changing, to not take it personally because
Yes.
I've taken it so personally and be like, well, they just don't like me today. Like I tell my husband,
Yeah.
like, if why don't they like me today? What did I
Yeah, yeah.
do? But I have to stop that stinking thinking and say, what can I do to sow a seed regardless of how she's
Mm.
going to respond and keep doing it? And it's that consistency because
Yes.
it doesn't have to be perfect, but our kids noticed consistency.
Yes. In those small moments too, just keep doing it and not looking for the big conversation, the breakthrough, life-changing conversation in your relationship. We talk about that on the podcast because it is built in those small moments. And that's so important and being consistent. I love that. I love that. Decision filter. Uh, I have to remember that. That's a good thing. And the wanting, I really like how you talk about that because we got to know what we want out of this relationship. Because if it's just driven by what's happening that week and it's not so great, then we just get pulled into all the mess. But when we know what we want is connection, we want to build a relationship now and for the future, right? So,
Absolutely. So
anyways,
good.
great. Okay, well, next question. How can busy moms create this stronger connection when life is filled with the sports, the school, the activities, the family responsibilities? Give us some practical stuff here on how we can actually do this.
Well, first, we have to realize that we are not in the same season we were a couple of years ago. Our kids are changing, as I mentioned. And so we need to pay attention to the season that we are in. It is full. But if we are not careful, we can live a full life, but not a fulfilling one. And so it really comes back to creating those intentional rhythms instead of waiting, like you mentioned, for these perfect moments. We're looking at, okay, oh, if we just go on this family vacation and connect for 10 days and it's going to be really awesome, we're going to be on the beach. Well, I don't know about you, but that doesn't always work picture perfect
Right.
like
It
that.
does not.
And,
Yeah.
those are great for the highlight reel that you put on social media. But we know that there are challenges here and there when you're traveling with a big group of people with different personalities. They're fun times, of
Right.
course. But what feeds into that is sometimes we just skip all of the great things that can happen when we
Mhm.
are living in the day to day. And it
Got it.
doesn't have to be perfect. And some people say you might be listening to this. And if you are like an A-type personality, like, okay, I'm going to go out and do this 5 days a week, 20 minutes, my kid is going to talk to me and we're going to have great, whoa, too much, right?
Yeah,
Too
yeah.
many expectations. And that is the thing too. Sometimes we have to sow without having the expectation of something in return, which is super
Mm.
hard, right?
Yes,
And when
yes.
we're like, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to, well, do it anyway.
Yeah,
Keep doing it.
yeah.
And so, what I would encourage is having a consistent rhythm of, yeah, that day or whatever works for your family. Maybe it changes week to week depending on what you have going on. That is just the day that works for our family. That is a rhythm that has been
Mm.
consistent, that is dependable. And kids like consistency, it makes them feel safe, right? It,
Yes,
it has
yes.
that predictability. And so when you can say, okay, I'm not going to try to aim for 5 days a week, let's see 2 to 3 days a week, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And it just needs to be something not super huge. Like I know my daughters, they are into sports and they're
Mm.
always like, oh, my youngest, Mom, can you just rub my feet? My feet are sore. That is a great, absolutely, I will. And I'll be right there to do it because
Yeah.
what does that offer an opportunity for? Connection. She's going to
Yes.
open up and talk. And even if she's not super chatty, that's okay. It's time together.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. The intentionality to be spontaneous is kind of what I'm hearing. It's like going with the moment, right? Instead of trying to have that expectation and this has to work out, I'm going to go with the moment. What's my team doing? What are they interested in? What's going on here? What do they want? That's fantastic because we can easily slip into that and build a simple, I love that, rubbing her feet, a simple connection which you kind of go, we would write off, but really we don't need to write that off because it is critical for them going, oh, you really care about me.
Well, and I think too, when we're doing sowing these seeds into our kids, having these intentional moments rather than just transactional, they really become
Mhm.
transformational in the relationship to where you're not just talking about logistics and did you get your homework done and did you do this? I mean, as moms,
Mhm.
especially with teens, we need to understand we're wanting to guide them rather than be this hover parent, right?
Yes,
We want
yes.
them to grow and to nurture that relationship. And so really shifting the focus on how can I continue to nurture that relationship so that when they're grown and gone, they're still going to want to have that connection with me. And, I'm not there yet, so I am praying that they're still going to want to do that.
They
I
will,
am
they will.
trusting, that.
Yeah.
But I think, the biggest thing that we can do is remind ourselves when we are investing in our kids, that allows then say, okay, reduces the guilt for them when we have time for ourselves as moms
Oh, that's
because
so
we're
good.
not living in reaction mode, not living on autopilot. We're living with intention.
Yes, because when we take care of ourselves, we show up for ourselves, and we're going to show up way better with everyone else. And that's a hard one to remember. That's great. All right. Well, how does taking care of yourself, now that we're on that, and setting those healthy boundaries actually make you a better parent, Sarah? Not a selfish one, but a better one.
Yeah. So a story that comes to mind was just overcommitting in a season for me. It was when my kids were, even growing more independent and we had just moved into a new community. And so I really wanted to get my kids involved so they could have friendships and they wanted to get involved. And it was in a fall season. So since my husband coaches high school football, it was super busy. And I was going to be the one navigating all of the things, the command center.
Mm.
And I had no drivers in the house at the time, no
Mm.
family near. And two of my daughters were playing recreational soccer, so not even the competitive league, and they needed a coach. And I said, hey, I'll coach not only one team, but I'll coach two teams. Here was my rationale behind that was, well, then I can decide when the practices are and they're not going to be conflicting. So my intention was good. So I'm like,
Right.
I got this, no problem. And then my oldest daughter was in competitive swimming, 25-minute drive one way. And then I'm like, oh, I might as well just take them to Wednesday night church. So I'll volunteer there as well. And I was just so overcommitted, not taking care of myself. And I remember there was one day where Drill Sergeant Mama came out, and I'm like, get in the car. We're going to be late. And I
Yeah.
completely was over capacity, and my patience was kicked to the curb, and I wasn't being the present mom that I wanted to be because of all the things I had committed to that I thought was, this was good. My intentions were good. But what I
Mhm.
had to learn was just because something is good doesn't mean it's going to fit the season that I'm in. And
Right.
so I think boundaries are teaching kids healthy relationship skills. And I use that as an example to them of, hey, this is what happens when we don't have balance, when we're trying to take too much on and we're not slowing down to speed
Mhm.
up per se. When we slow down and we invest in ourselves, and sometimes self-care means adding to your schedule. No, for me, self-care is removing things. Is
Okay.
protecting your time by
Mhm.
outsourcing or
Mhm.
delegating to your kids or just simply saying, let good enough be good enough. Letting
Ah,
go of that perfectionism. And to me, that has
yeah.
been what self care is for me. And my kids benefit from seeing this. Your kids, of the mamas listening, will benefit from you modeling this in your life because it shows them that you value your own life too.
All right. So, Sarah, that brings up a question for me. What would you say would be a good first step for a mom that is in that state? She's overcommitted. She's just flying by the seat of her pants and not taking care of herself, and maybe starting to have some of those reactions because that's easy as moms of teens. We do that. What would you say would be good first steps for her?
Well, a good first step would be really taking some time, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time, and really audit where your time is going. And I look at
Mm,
it in three specific areas. It's you, which is your personal growth and development, your faith, your health and wellness. And
mhm,
then your people, which is your relationships, your family, your friends, your community. And then it's
mm,
your life. That's all the logistics, right? The command
mm,
center, the volunteering, what you're doing, and really looking at the whole picture to see where there's an imbalance, right? Was this just like a
mm,
fluky thing where you just had a really bad week and everything culminated together? You don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction or a knee-jerk
mm,
decision, but being able to really take a look at it and visually see, wow, okay, this is what's going on. And then having that conversation with your husband and saying,
mm,
okay, this is where some imbalances are. What can we delegate to the kids? Or one thing when I decided to pursue something for myself in terms of a business and starting my podcast, I said, okay, this is what is happening in the life category. We need to figure out how we can delegate some of these things, take it off my plate. These are some of the things I need to put on pause for now. Some of my volunteer commitments. Volunteering, it is good, but maybe it's a no, not right now, depending
mm.
on
Right.
what's going on where with the you category and your people category, right?
Mm.
And really having that honest look and taking an inventory that way. That would be the first step I would encourage someone to do.
Okay. So do a time audit. Or how did you call it? What did
Yes,
you call it?
a
A
time
time
audit.
audit.
Yeah,
Okay. All
and if
right.
that's overwhelming to someone, I'd be happy to lock arms with them and spend time with them doing that.
That's great because I think sometimes for me, when I have tried to do some of those time audits in the past, it gets overwhelming just even putting it on the paper because it seems like so much, to navigate through. So that's great. I love this conversation that we've had. It's been so fun, and I love just that kind of natural lead in. I thank you for sharing your wisdom, for your encouragement with us today. And before we wrap up, that's what I want you to do is let everyone know where they can connect with you, how they can connect with you, and any resources that you've got that are going to help them. I know they'll be blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on. They can find me every Thursday. A new episode drops on Balanced Mom Life. That is on all podcast platforms. You can also go to westmetromom.com to learn more about me and what I offer. I do coach women through this transitional season of motherhood, specifically starting with a time audit. And
Mm.
so it's just been such a joy to connect with other women along this journey and just see how they are prioritizing themselves so they can show up fully for their families.
Yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. For the moms, right, they're in the heat of it and there's struggle and there's tension. But when we show up for ourselves, it can change everything about how we show up, how we relate, how we communicate with everyone else. So thank you, Sarah, again for being here. I know moms are walking away encouraged and with practical tips and ideas that they can start using right away. I just love having you here. Thanks so much. Well, I hope you enjoyed having Sarah with us today. And one of the things that she shared that I want you to take with you is this: connection isn't built in one big conversation or by somehow finding hours of extra time. It's built in those small, consistent moments with your kids. And when we're exhausted, overcommitted, or running on empty, it's so much harder to be the calm, present mom that we really want to be. And if you'd like to connect with Sarah, there's a link to her podcast and the free time audit that she's offering in the show notes. And if you'd like to connect with me, I'd love to hear from you. Just go to connectwithyourteens.com or reach out in the DMs or on Messenger. And Mom, remember, save the date for September 15th, the upcoming free Connect with Your Teens workshop. Details will be out soon. And if you want to know first, then become a Connect with Your Teens Insider. The link is in the show notes. All right, let's pray. God, thank you for the moms listening today and for the relationships you've entrusted to us. Help us to see the small opportunities that you give us each day to connect with our kids. Give us the wisdom to know what matters most in this season and the courage to let go of the things that don't. And trusting you, Lord, above all, with our kids and with the things that we cannot control. It's in your name we ask, Lord. Amen. And as always, I am rejoicing in the hope that God gives us in Christ Jesus our Lord. I'll see you next time on Connect with Your Teens. I hope this podcast inspired and encouraged you. And if so, would you share it with another mom who's praying for change in her relationships? And I'd be so blessed if you take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Your review helps more moms find hope and the encouragement they've been searching for. I'd love to connect with you. Come join my Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/connectwithyourteens. You don't have to figure this out alone. There's real support waiting for you inside. From one mom who used to walk on eggshells, I see you, and I'm cheering you on. Remember, God loves, adores, and delights in you, and you are the best mom for your kids.